Hello everybody, welcome to this ukulele tutorial, which is to learn the brilliant Bugsy Malone by Paul Williams from the fabulous musical film in 1976, which used to be on every Christmas, same as Oliver Twist and Chitty Bang Bang and The Wizard of Oz and all those other brilliant musicals that you never see anywhere anymore. What information will you need? Well, let's get everything you require on the screen in front of you straight away. Oh, boom, extra chords. There is of course 10 chords, but it's not as difficult as you think. The hardest two are of course B and E minor, Nemesis wrist swivels. But E minor is not as difficult as normal because we drop into E minor after B, which means every finger on the ukulele neck just drop down. So it is relatively easier than normal, and most of the other chords are simple 1, 2 or 3 finger ukulele chords, but you can pause the screen and learn them in your own time before we go through the song teach. What I will do is put a skip ahead time here, and if you want to learn the chords and go through the strumming pattern with me, then I will do that after we create our song sheet. So you could go and learn all the chords with me and any tips on changing chords and things, and then you can come back to the start of the song and go through the whole song sheet creation part of it. Let's get all the information back off the screen. What we'll do is we'll go through the strumming pattern as we teach the song. Boom, 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 boom. All the information back of the screen. I will now pop up into the top corner and my song sheet will be down there for you, hopefully to copy from and learn this fabulous song, which has of course jumped ahead of schedule in the ukulele tutorial videos because it was requested by John, so we are teaching this song a little bit earlier than normal. As you can see on my song sheet in the top corner, as usual, intro in block capitals. And then just so we can condense our song onto a 2-page spread, we've wrote out the little intro riff in note form as C3, EO, AO, etc, etc. But I'll scroll down my song sheet now for you and show you the proper format. As you can see, the proper format is the chords listed on the left hand side, A, E, C and G. Don't ask me why the A is at the top and the G is at the bottom when the G is the top string and the A is the bottom string. Absolutely ludicrous, I know, but we are not going to change decades and decades of ukulele teaching. And we will keep the note playing diagrams the same as what everybody else does, even though we think it's wrong and the G should be at the top, but let's not go into that. So as you can see for the intro riff, riff A, the first one on the C is a 3 next to the C, which means we play the C string on the 3rd fret. So put our finger 3 on the 3rd fret for the C chord, and we'll just pluck down with our thumb, and then on the E string you have a 0, which means no frets required, it's an open E string, so we'll pluck down with our thumb on the E string, and then we have another 0 on the A string, which is the same thing, open A string, no frets required. But as you can see, we've still got our 3rd finger on C3 and it will remain there because it doesn't affect us plucking down on the E string or the A string, and we leave it on the 3rd fret of the C string because we're going to go back up to the C string again and pluck C3 as the 4th note, EO, AO. So the first 6 notes are, doesn't that sound absolutely fabulous? I had to listen to the song and make those notes up myself. And then we'll go again, C3, EO, AO, or last time of the 4 thumb rolls down the strings. We do not pluck A0. So the 4 roll down of the strings with the thumb sounds like this. See how we left out the A0 on that fourth roll down with the thumb. And then we just repeat the whole thing again. Did you hear that little extra twang on the A string? That's because on the second sequence of 4 thumb rolls down in that note playing sequence, instead of leaving the A0 out on the last one, we'll add in A4, which is the 4th fret. We'll just put our little pinky on the 4th one there for that last part of the riff, which in total altogether sounds like this. And then we jump straight into the first line of the song, which starts in C. And our strumming pattern for the song is down, 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 down. You don't have to sit around complaining about the way your life has wound up. Yeah, that is another song from the brilliant film Bugsy Malone by Paul Williams again, which matches our strum pattern for this song. But as you can see, the first C is above no lyrics in the space. Well, if you follow any of my other ukulele tutorials, you will know that that means the strummers happen before the singing starts, and the first full strum pattern in C, 4 Cs, he's a sinner, starts singing on the second C. Well, he's a sinner, and then we'll jump into E7, and it's the same thing. One strum has happened, E7 above no lyrics in the space, before we start singing Candy Coated for the next 3 downs. Candy Coated, and then we'll jump into A7 on the second line, again, one strum before we sing. For his friends he always seems to be alone. I didn't count that, but it's most likely 8 strums in A7 total, because everything works in 4s of course. Do you want me to check it? Okay, let's check it. For all his friends he always seems to be alone. I think that was 8. Before we jump into F in the space above no lyrics, because the first strum happens before the next 3 strums down on the strum pattern. We sing But They Love Him, but they love him. And then G7 in the space, only this time it's 2 strums in G7 before we sing Bugsy Ma, Bugsy Ma. And the second part of Malone, we will jump on to C. All home, 5, 6, 7, 8. Same thing before we jump on to the next line. And we're staying in C, first C in the space above no lyrics. We wrote C on our song sheet because it is on a new line. Next 3 C's, a City Slicker, City Slicker. Back to E7 in the space above no lyrics. And then we start singing He Can Charm You on the second down. He can charm you with a, and we've even said with a from the next line, because we don't jump into F until the word smile. Smile and the style of, our 4 F's have gone, and above the word his, we jump into D7. His on 1, 2, 3, 4. Last line of the first verse. Notice it's a bold C, which means half a strum pattern, which in this case is 2 downs. Everybody, same for A. in bold, meaning half a strum pattern. 2 downs. Loves that. Jump into G. Above man. Man bugs him up. First part of Ma has gone. For the second part of Malone, underline bold C, you know what it means. 1 strum. On. So we'll just play that full last line all together, and it goes. Everybody loves that man, Bugsy Malone. And then, as you can see in block capitals, we have intro written at the end of that verse, because we'll go through the full intro riff again. This next section we've highlighted in yellow, which we normally do for a chorus, but it isn't actually the chorus because it only plays once in the song. But we've highlighted in yellow because it is played differently. It's actually what we wrote in green there on our song sheet is double speed. It's not actually double speed, it's just almost double the strum pattern. So for every count 1, 2, 3, 4, there is 2 downs instead of 1. So we'll go. Hard-headed Bugsy makes his mind up. So instead of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So we would strum on the and as well as the count. But you could just say it's a different strum pattern for this part of the song, and it would be 8 downs instead of 4 downs. So what we're going to do is beat times 8 before we even start singing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then on the 9th one, hard-headed Bugsy makes his. And all 3 fingers drop down 1 string for E minor above the word mind. Mind up. Don't mess with Bugsy or you'll. In 7, wind up. Wishing you left well enough. First part of Alone is gone, and we hit D7 on the second part of Alone. Long is the man, a mountain is a rolling. Underline bold G. What does it mean? 1 strum above stone. Stone. And then it is riff B. Again, we wrote it out on our song sheet so we can see it on our song sheet as C3, E3, A3. So fingers 2, 3 and 4 all on the 2nd fret. And then after the A3, there's another A3. So we'll pluck that one twice, and it sounds like this. And then we have A2P. So we'll take our 3 fingers off, but we'll move our second one back a fret and down to the bottom A string for A2P, which means A2 pull off. So 2nd fret on the A string, and all we do is once we've plucked the string, we'll pull our finger off the string and we get a double sound like this. It sounds fabulous, doesn't it? A bit like the Pink Panther. The double sounds with the slides, doesn't it? Isn't that brilliant? Yeah, we'll have to teach the Pink Panther. One of my first songs we learned. Great for doing the note play and learning and sliding the fingers on the strings. After A2 pull off, take our first finger on the 1st fret on the A string for A1 pull off for the double sound again. Listen to the whole thing all together. Doesn't that sound just like the riff from the song, absolutely fabulous. I made it up from listening, very, very proud of it. Brilliant, hope you like it too. And now I'll quickly scroll down and show you the proper diagram form of that little note riff. There you go, as you can see, our back to front strings with A at the top, and then E, and then C, and then G, in the wrong order as usual, but don't get me started with that. We will keep it the same way as everybody else does it. And the song, it will sound like this. He's a man of mountain, he's a rolling stone, but he'll leave you sad and lonely, crying. I couldn't say, but it's known. Everybody loves that man, Bugsy Malone. And again. There you are. So we've just had a sneak preview there at the next section, which also ends in riff B, and that's why on our song sheet we wrote riff B at the end of that little, almost like verse 2, but it's a very short verse. And so of course when we did the cover of the song, which I'll leave at the end of the video on the left hand side, we had the luxury of video technology, and we used it, and we done the riff at the start of the song and put the riff in the middle of the song, and we just had to leave a pause and make the riff sound in our head before we continued, and then we added the riff in later. But of course you can do it all at once, as I've just proved there. And after the little riff we will jump into the second section, which is C in the space above no lyrics. The next three downs from the strum pattern will be he will leave you, jump to E7, one strum, into space above no lyrics, next three strums, sad and lonely, crying, jump into F above I couldn't say, but our four downs have gone, D7 above it's known, our four D7s have gone. We'll jump into C for our half a strum pattern, ball C, everybody, two downs, A minor, same thing, bold, wants that, G above man, two strums on man, a little bit of an extended man, and then Bugsy Malone. First part of Malone has gone, and we'll finish with our bold on the line C for our one strum long. There we have it, riff B again. And after it, on our song sheet and what we did in the cover, is a full playthrough again of section 1, although in the actual song from the film it is just a full section 1 instrumental. So you could just do a full instrumental and sing the song in your head as you do the full first section playthrough, or you could do what we did on our cover and just repeat the whole first section again. So if you want to do that on your song sheet, then select the C at the top of the first section, 3 lines, 6 lines, down to the Malone with a one strum C. Release the left mouse button, right click the selected text and click copy, and then go down to our second player of riff B, leave a space, and then right click and paste. There's your first full section, copy it, paste it in, save you lots of time writing it all out again. And now what we need to do is copy and paste the last line again, like we did. So we'll go C, everybody loves that man, Bugsy Malone, we'll copy that last line, we'll leave a space, right click and paste, and that last line has gone in again. But then what we need to do actually is we need to highlight that C, underline, bold on the first Malone and go to our text document information, click bold and underlined. So it's not bold and underlined, it's a normal C chord strum pattern, but I'm not going to play the whole of that first section again. What I'm going to do is play the last 2 lines for you, because we thought it sounded better with a little pause between the repeated line, everybody loves that man, Bugsy Malone. So what we did was, after the second part of Malone in C, we strummed another 7 strums to make it 2 4s before we started singing Everybody Loves That Man, Bugsy Malone again to end the song. I will just demonstrate it for you now. Everybody loves that man, Bugsy Malone. Everybody loves that man, Bugsy Malone. And that is the full song learned. You can do whatever you like, it's your song. You can put the riffs wherever you think appropriate. You can play the instrumental instead of doing a first section repeat like I did. But I hope you've enjoyed learning this brilliant song. Appreciate one of those. If you have, you may not learn it yet, you might be waiting for the chords, which we are going to go through right now for everybody who wanted that information. So if you clicked skip ahead at the start, you will now get on to this part where we'll go back and put all the chords on the screen, and we'll quickly go through them for beginners. Relatively easy A minor, second finger, second fret on the top G string. Quickly show you how the diagrams work. That is A minor, same as the diagram, with the ukulele neck vertical. Another 1 finger chord, A7, is first finger on the second from top C string on the first fret. 1, 2, 3, 4, which is the strumming pattern. There it is. A7. And then the third one, another 1 finger chord, the most common chord and probably easiest chord, third finger, third fret, as you can see, for the C chord. And then D7-ish, 2 finger chord, which is a version of D7. It's not actually D7, which is why we call it D7-ish. It's the easier version of D7 that sounds perfectly fine and is used very frequently. You'll come across it lots of times. There's the picture. There is how it goes, same as the diagram. Let's put it next to the diagram and show you. There you go. Second fret, top G string, and second from top. Top G string, and second from bottom E string with the second and third fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4. D7, E7 is pretty straightforward 3. E7 is next. Straightforward 3 finger chord. Well, I suppose if you're a beginner, none of these chords are straightforward. Believe me, I know. I've been there and I have gone through it all. It is difficult, but you just need to persevere and continue. This will all become much easier with time and practice. That is the E7 chord, same as the diagram. F's a little bit easier because it's only a 2 finger chord. First finger, second from bottom, E string on the first fret, and the second finger on the G string on the second fret, and then G, first and second finger on the second fret, second from top C string for the first finger, and the bottom A string for the second finger, and the third finger just comes round and lands on the third fret in between the two fingers. It looks quite difficult, but G isn't that hard. And if you can play G, you can certainly play G7, which is a little bit of a mumble jumble. Looks relatively easy because the diagrams are similar and there's only one change of position, but you actually have to shuffle all three fingers into completely different positions. The first finger becomes a first fret. The first finger has to move to be the middle one of the three and drop back to the first fret on the second from bottom E string, and the second finger jumps up 2 frets from the bottom string to where the first finger was on the second from top C string on the second fret, and the third finger moves back a fret and onto the bottom A string of the second fret. So all 3 fingers have shuffled into different positions. It'll get easier and easier. It'll get easier with practice. Just go G, G7, G, E7, same as how I've told you to practice these chord switches before. Just do it in slow motion, like this, until it becomes easy. I don't think G7 to G is a swap that you need to do in the song, but it's a good one to do just for practicing. Now I'm doing it with ukulele neck vertical because I'm used to doing it. Find it relatively easy. Finger dexterity is already set and already knows that movement, so even in a different position I can still make that motion very quickly. You will too. Practice, practice, practice. Persevere, determination, resilience, all those things that make you good at anything you want to do. Where we're going next, G7 to the nemesis wrist swivel B. Okay, so first finger on the bottom 2 strings on the second fret. Third finger comes round, comes over the top onto the third fret, second from top C string, and the third finger goes on the top G string on the 4th fret, which we use for that start of that very fast section in the song, where we double the speed, or we do 4 downs, or we do 8 downs instead of 4 downs. However that information deciphers better in your head. However that information absorbs better into your head. Yeah. B. Now a good way of checking B, if you've not, now a good way of checking that you're getting a good sound from your B chord is to put your fingers on and then pluck each string individual. We often get this noise on the bottom string. Twang. Is that familiar? Yeah. If you get that sound, it's because this first finger is lifted up off the bottom string, and it happens when these 2 fingers go over the top, and all you need to do to remedy it is pull your wrist back. Get a nice sound now, see? Just pull your wrist back. You don't have to pull the ukulele back like I did there. I was just exaggerating the movement. So you see him wrist forward, wrist slightly back, to make sure the first finger is pressing on the bottom string. And that's it. Succeeded. Okay, just a good tip. I hope that works for you. In the song, B becomes E minor on the first line of that fast bit. On the first line of that fast section. And it's a relatively easy change, even though it is another wrist swivel. We don't need to swivel the wrist because we're already here. So all we do is drop all three fingers down one string. So the first finger is now only pressing on one string and not two. E minor is one of my least favourite chords, but it's not as bad as E. Nothing is as bad as E. So we have done all the chords and a few tips on how to play some of those chords. The swivel, where does the swivel happen? When we go from the intro riff, when we go from the intro riff, so we'll go from that intro riff, and we're now in A4. We'll go from there into the wrist swivel. That's not too bad, because when you hit A4 at the end of that intro riff, you can already be here. You can already have your wrist down here when you click that. When you pluck that string, that A string, but of course when you do it, you need to add your thumb to the back of the ukulele neck to keep the ukulele upright in this position. So it would go no. We're tuning the note player there in the riff. We're already in this position and we already have our thumb on the back of the ukulele neck. So it's not actually a nemesis wrist swiveling to be. Our fingers are already round here. And all we need to do is pop them where they need to go for B. My head bugs, he makes his mind up. And there you have that first line of that fast bit. So now we've gone through all those chords, a couple of tips. You can go back to the start of the video and hopefully enjoy creating the full song sheet and having it on a 2-page spread, condensing it like we have. Have the song sheet ready in front of you to just practice and play away. That's the song learned anyway. One of those would be appreciated if you've enjoyed learning this fabulous song by Paul Williams from the brilliant 1976 film Bugsy Malone. But that's it from me. Until next time, see you later.